4 times.
Yeah, so
4 times.
Yeah, so
If we're gonna solve this mystery, we gotta get to the root of the problem.
yeah, okay.
What do you know about the root?
It all starts with the Call of Cthulhu, originally by H.P. Lovecraft.
I don't even know that name. What's that all about?
It's about a man who's had visions of another time, a time when these giant, scaly reptilian creatures ruled the earth in the distant past.
You mean Detroiters? No.
Ooh.
No, this is the beginning of everything. The Call of Cthulhu is like the seminal. It's the most I guess boiled down element that we're going to be reviewing, and it's fitting that we're starting with it.
Yeah.
Because this is a film that was fan driven and back from 2005.
2005. Yep.
And it takes everything that Lovecraftian kind of cosmic horror and intrigue, mystery, suspense, and it tries to sum it up in a 45-minute movie. Like it's short, it's sweet, and it's in the theme of like the 20s. So it's filmed in black and white, and it's really just it's just a work of love.
Right.
And quick, for anyone that hasn't been educated on Lovecraft.
Okay. I'll give him a quick rundown on the whole plot.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a man who gets a notice that his uncle had passed away, and he's been asked to settle the estate.
Yeah.
Basically, so he goes to his uncle's house, to try and
Sort through the papers and
sort through all the papers and stuff like that, and he finds a mysterious box that's full of these old news clippings and little bits of data,
strange events and
earthquakes and behaviors and dreams, and it hooks him. And he starts to dig deep into this box. It has nothing to do with what he's actually there for, but he can't ignore it. You know,
it's too tasty. It's kind of the underlying element of Lovecraft is that you get a taste and it intrigues you. You dig places where you shouldn't, and he starts researching some of these people, the names that keep coming up.
Yeah, his uncle was apparently involved with some, I wouldn't say shady people, but certainly some kind of troubled people.
Yeah, troubled people with not necessarily sketchy pasts, but everyone. These guys got on the radar for some strange things, and the one guy that comes forward is Inspector LaGrasse.
Yes,
and his story is compelling because he's the straight man in a Lovecraft story.
Right.
And he's the disbeliever, and he thinks it's just people acting out.
Well, yeah, he's a policeman. That's one night he answered a call. He went out to the swamp where some people are saying that some very strange stuff has been happening deep in the swamp. So he takes a team out there to investigate.
Yeah, missing peoples.
And he gets out there and he finds something of a cult. It's not quite a voodoo cult, but there's people
and they're all worshiping, and they're all in a nature of a frenzied state, quite literally.
Dancing around a fire, kind of dancing around this totem.
And they're speaking a tongue that hasn't been heard. It makes no sense. And so they settle these guys as hash, and
they kill a few of them.
They kill a few of them.
Yeah.
They bust up the gathering and arrest the rest of them.
Right.
But it still haunts him a little bit. So
yeah, he actually took that totem from the altar there, and he kept it with him. He went to this local university, the Archaeological Society.
Yeah, who just had a meeting. So all the greatest minds of archaeology and human history, basically. And he said, "I have no idea what this is. You guys probably have the best idea." And for the most part, they're all stumped, except for one guy.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, I ran across it one time, and it was in the frozen north."
An Eskimo.
Eskimo, spelled Esquimaux. That's not right. But but anyhow, they're still trying to figure out what the situation is and the words that were being spoken. And this distant connection we're using the same language. And what's the phrase that was said? It was
Cthulhu Fragen in Rylea or something like that.
Yeah, and it translates to...
It's an alien language.
It's like Cthulhu lies slumbering in Rylea, and he's basically this creature, this entity that's waiting to awaken and retake what was once his. And that's basically kind of Lovecraft's MO with horror. Is there are things that came before, and they're so unspeakably bad, you don't want to know about them.
Yeah.
But you can't resist it. And that's kind of the Call of Cthulhu. Is it calls you, and you accept all the charges whether you want to or not.
It doesn't care, it operates under its own rules.
Yeah. So through this whole thing, people are, as they dig deeper and they get closer to the truth, they start going a little mad.
Yeah, it's actually, it happens fairly quickly, where people start to have dreams about this cyclopean city.
Yeah, and that's a strange word to use.
Yeah.
Because, you think of cyclopean, and of course everyone's mind goes to Cyclops. But is that wrong to say? You have these structures that are massive, and they're not conjured by the minds of men.
Well, they're not made for men, because like a single step on these in this city is like 10 feet. So it's not made for men. Yeah, you're right.
I like there was an analogy in a story. I forget what it was, but basically it amounted to the architecture of these cyclopean cities were made for another people, and men are but the rats of our cities.
Yeah.
And sure, we can find our ways around, but we weren't meant to find our way around. And we meddle in things we don't understand or shouldn't understand. And then this whole story shifts towards what was it? The sea captain and his journals that were found next.
Yeah.
And basically,
him and his men, they came across a derelict ship.
Yeah, a derelict ship that had no signs of anybody around.
And the last known coordinates were logged. There's supposed to be nothing out there.
Yeah, and so they go through all the coordinates and they look on a map, and it's just a blank square.
Right.
And then they start delving into the journals and they talk.
Well, let's go there.
Yeah, let's see what's there. And boy, that was the worst decision ever. It was the worst decision ever.
They land on that said city, this city of giants, basically.
The city in the middle of this vast nothingness. And it's tall pillars, archways, and they describe it as if it were covered in slime, like as if it rose from the depths. And they end up kind of
running for their lives.
Yeah, running.
So they get to the top of the hill, basically.
Yeah.
A door opens and out comes a clawed hand.
Yeah, and it's a
Guess who?
Guess who? It's who's calling.
Yeah.
And he chases them right all the way back out to the ocean.
Yeah.
And people are getting slaughtered. The crew is dropping so much that there's only 2 people left.
Yeah.
And it's a thrilling story for what it is.
It's a weird one for the time, especially when it was written.
Oh yeah. You had nobody doing stuff like this.
Not to my knowledge.
You had people like Lovecraft had made his mark in like pulp fiction magazines where they compiled short stories on a quarterly basis, and he always had a different take on things, and publishers didn't know what to make of it.
Still today, it's kind of hard to know what to make of it.
Yeah,
it's a good story.
There's such a room for interpretation in his work, and I think this film captured it perfectly.
Well, this film it played it very very true to the story. Like, I read the story years ago, and from what I remember, this is basically word for word, or at least scene for scene.
Yeah, it gets most of the, I'd say the vast majority of the dialogue and like you said, the scenes pretty spot on.
Yep.
And it's hard to do that, and it's impressive that they did that, considering nowadays everyone says, oh, you can't film Lovecraft.
Right.
You can't transfer his stories to a visual medium, especially when you consider that like it's a fan film on a very modest, limited budget. I think they did an excellent job.
They did pretty good. Like all the sets they used looked really impressive, especially filmed the way it was. It was filmed in black and white, and they used like special filters on the edge of the screen, like they were filming from
an actual rotoscope.
Yeah, like an old-timey film, and even the actors.
Or the makeup of the actors of the era. That was awesome.
And they acted like actors of the silent age, you know, so he said when they were sleeping, they'd be laying back, and if they're having a troubled dream, they'd be going, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. You know,
very animated.
Very animated, you know, can somebody please emote?
Yeah,
you know?
Why don't you wave your arms around a little bit? But it all built, like the script, like you said, it's like word for word from the story. The visuals, very indicative of the time. The spirit of it even matches, because back then there weren't huge production houses.
No.
It was teams of, 5 to 10 people.
Yeah.
So it really evoked the sense of it, and it just comes straight through the screen. It's Lovecraft. And that's kind of where we want to sit. It's a good place to start for us.
Right. Start at the beginning.
Right at the source. And we're going to hopefully move on to something a little bit more interesting as time goes on.
Providing we survive this.